LISC is an acronym for Local Initiative Support Corporation, and what we are is a financial and social intermediary. Financial in the sense that we bring capital to under-resourced communities throughout Jacksonville, and social in as much that we bring programmatic offerings to those very same communities. The vision is, how do we make some of our most challenged communities destinations where people want to live? Not only want to live, but want to raise a family in those very same communities. Want to raise a family, want to start their businesses in those communities. We start with that process through our work around home repair. We want to fix what's there. Then you layer that with our work around heirs property and tax abatement, and even our work in the space of appraisal biasness. And then you look at the work that we're doing in terms of Project Boots and our lending work. We want to make sure that it's a destination where people want to be at. And then you layer that on with our work specifically in the space of economic development, where we're supporting small businesses in those communities. And then lastly, when you look at our work around creative placemaking and resiliency, we want to make sure that we support those people that are currently living in those neighborhoods. So if you add all of that up together, you get the work of LISC Jacksonville.
The city was taking down budget homes in the early 90s. Not long after that, the city bulldozed the neighborhood of La Bella. And I think it became obvious to me over time and others that had we had a LISC chapter here, we probably could have saved La Bella. Housing is just a chronic challenge. I had been meeting with LISC, and so, stars aligned. JF agreed to try to get the business community to invite LISC for a meeting. And what an important leader JF Bryan was. He went out and raised money for our initial effort. He donated himself, and he agreed to chair the board. So an impetus really was the then housing challenge. And I'll never forget JF saying to me, we really have to think differently locally. If we just keep doing what we've been doing, we'll just be building public housing of the future. And the story will evolve the same way. And so one of the things that we really loved about the National LISC approach was trying to develop neighborhoods into organizations that they call, and we call, community development corporations, to do the really tough work of neighborhood stabilization, redeveloping housing, whatever it takes to have a wholesome, safe, healthy neighborhood for families to thrive in, for old people to age in, for children to grow up in.
Lift Jacks and LISC Jacksonville have been partnered for the last couple of years around the revitalization of the historic East Side more broadly, and specifically with Project Boots. Project Boots is really one of our flagship projects. It's one of the things we're most excited about, and it is all about bringing new quality housing into the neighborhood and attracting residents to the neighborhood, to the historic East Side, to contribute to the neighborhood's future. What we're particularly excited about is that the folks that are engaging with us and coming back into the neighborhood are working professionals. We have a pharmacist, a landscape architect, an entrepreneur, a college professor, a city executive. These are people who want to make roots in the historic East Side and really contribute to the neighborhood into the future.
This moment, this first cohort, this program is going to be monumental for the East Side neighborhood. So we see that there's a lot of developers that have land in East Side and no one has moved yet on building, but as soon as Boots take off and start to build, they're like, okay, let's do this. So I think Boots has been the catalyst of that development for people who've been holding on to land. It's going to just catch root, and other communities will be able to participate in this at some point, and in particular Black neighborhoods. I think that's the biggest goal that LISC is trying to do in this program. So I think East Side is going to just change in the residential landscape in the next 3 to 5 years.
Heirs property is real estate, whether it be home or land, that is left in the name of a deceased loved one. Oftentimes we have generations of land and homes that need to be transferred in ownership. And so folks who are of low income, they have historically not had documents like wills or proper estate planning to help with this process. We were very privileged to have LISC want to join us because they said that they wanted us to do what we were already doing, just in a bigger capacity, which was music to our ears. Working for legal aid, you are limited to the funding that you have. So we saw that the need was great, but we only had 2 staff attorneys and 1 support staff. With the support of LISC, we've been able to expand to 4 attorneys now and 2 paralegals. And so we've been able to do what we were doing on a smaller scale, on a much bigger scale.
Partnering with LISC was like a godsend. I actually came in as a client through one of the other community partners that LISC has. Jacksonville is rooted in a lot of discriminatory practices that separate communities from knowledge, communities from resources, communities from just protections that are needed to pass on generational wealth. So a lot of people feel like if their will is written, then it's the same thing as the will being recorded. So many times people pass away with a written will inside of their safety deposit box that nobody knows exists. You can't execute something that nobody knows exists. LISC being able to provide the funding for free legal services, it immensely impacts the urban core to the point where it's like, now we're talking generational wealth. Now we're changing the game. Now we're creating a foundation for the next generation to have access to equity.
Working with LISC Jacksonville has truly been a blessing, honestly. Since the inception of our organization, we have been providing all kinds of services to the community, right? So community transformation is at the heart of what we do. And we've been able to take the LISC FOC model and lay it on top of what we've done for many, many years. And that has proven to be a game changer for us in these past 2 years. What we get an opportunity to do is help our clients holistically. So we're not just focused on them being better financially, but we're also providing income support, which is immediate need, support as needed. And we also help them to change maybe their career. They need more education so that they can earn more and meet their financial goals.
I think the time frame that we've been able to be here and supported by numerous organizations and foundations in our community is a true testimony to the work that we're doing, that is not only needed, but people actually value it. Not only people who live inside of those communities, but those that are on the outside of those communities who have the capacity to give and support the work of LISC Jacksonville. And I think that speaks for itself. I don't think we have to do anything in particular as it relates to our work, but just make sure that we show up and do exactly what we said we're going to do, and do it for the people that we said we're going to do it for.